I did 41 years in a New York State prison, and I know what it's like in New York State. So I want this voice, and along with this voice comes a responsibility to be completely transparent and honest. So I'm not going to hedge. I'm not going to fudge. If I offend you, fuck you, leave the room.
Welcome to Time, the podcast. I'm Paula Parrish, and I am sitting here with my friend. We're going to call him Boss. And we're going to call him Boss because we've chosen to keep him anonymous, at least for the time being, out of respect for the victims involved in his case. Also to protect his identity for legal reasons, basically. So that's what we're choosing to do right now. I hope it is not frustrating. So Boss, tell us what you're going to talk about on this podcast.
So we're going to talk about my conviction. I was convicted of 2 counts of murder in the second degree, and I served 41 years in the correctional facility in New York State. So we're going to talk about what it really means to do time, what time really is. I'm going to share my story, my life, and I'm not going to hold anything back. Some of it's going to be very difficult for me to tell, and some of it's going to be very difficult to hear. But it's the truth, it's life. So you deserve it. And also, if you don't know who I am, then it doesn't take away from what we're teaching. The life that I lived, it could happen to anyone. We all have our lives that we live, the things we go through, the things that damage us, the things that make us stronger.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. So it doesn't matter what my name is. So sit back, open your mind, open your hearts, and hopefully you'll get some good things from us.
What should we start with? If you could choose, what would the first episode be about?
If I could choose, what would the first episode be about? I think the very first episode, if I could choose, if I were in charge, would be bug spray.
Will you tell me the Jerry Mitchell story?
I mean, the Jerry Mitchell story is good and it's compelling because it can be...
Googled?
But no, it can be
Verified.
So that's a really good episode for number 1, actually.
Yeah.
For that reason.
I like it because it's a fucking crazy story. I think it's a good place to start, and because I'm such a control freak, I'm going to win this one.
Yes, you are.
No. He's going to tell us a story about his friend Jerry Mitchell. And I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut.
I mean, that's what you're here for, to interject and to keep me straightened out, right? So who was Jerry? Jerry Mitchell. Jerry Mitchell was from the Bronx, raised by a single parent, his mother. He was intelligent, but damaged. But we became best friends in there, and I had just started. I think I was 22, 23, somewhere around in there when Jerry and me were friends. We had built reputations for ourselves because we were in a very violent situation, and the only thing people respected was violence. So we had built, or began to build, the reputations that we would carry the rest of our lives, because it's fight or fuck, right? I mean, that's what it is. You know, you survive or you pay somebody for your survival. So we had started to build these reputations and these bad boy things that we did, and it turns out we were both really good with our hands. So we just naturally were drawn to each other to hang out with each other, because when we were together, we were a couple of badasses and people were not going to fuck with us. That's how we became friends, protecting each other. Jerry didn't have a lot of time to do. He only had a year or 2 to do. So he got out on parole very quickly. And he told me when he made parole, he said, "I'm going to come get you." And I said, "What do you mean you're going to come get me?" He said, "I'm going to come get you. Stay where you're at. Don't move cells." I said, "All right, come get me." He had met another guy in there while he was there who turned out, I can't remember the guy's name, but if we look in the newspapers, we'll find his name. But I never liked the kid from the start. But Jerry liked him. So if Jerry wanted to hang around with him, then it was cool with me if he's hanging around.
Is it a Jerry? I can't remember.
Yeah, Jerry, Mitchell.
Okay.
And so he made a plan with this other guy to come break me out of prison. And we were going to go we were going to be gangsters. We were going to be whatever, bank robbers, whatever we were going to be. We were going to break out, and these are 20-year-old kids talking, right? And we were going to be famous, right? So he was coming to get me. So what he did is he got out with this guy, and he came up from New York City, and he kidnapped a cab driver, and the taxi was going to be the getaway vehicle. So him and this other kid kidnapped the taxi driver, and they taped him to a tree. It didn't hurt him, just taped him to a tree out in the forest. So Jerry had weapons. He had some shotguns, and him and this other guy went to a hotel room, got a hotel, and they were inside this hotel making the plan to come get me. I don't know to this day how he thought that was going to work, but he did. In the interim, the taxi driver gets loose, tells the cops where it's at. They find the taxi at this hotel, talk to the clerks, find out that Jerry and this guy are in the room, and they approach the room to apprehend them, and Jerry starts shooting cops. They're shooting cops, and they're barricaded in there for hours. These guys are barricaded inside here, and they're shooting at cops, and they've shot a couple of cops, and the cops are shooting back at them and trying to kill them. And finally, it gets quiet in there. So they finally sent in one of those police robots and with a camera to see what's going on, and they seen that the carnage and all of that, and that Jerry had shot the kid, and then he had shot himself.
That's fucking nuts. How did you hear about all that?
It was all over the news. It was all the TVs, all the radios. It was ongoing because it went on for like 15 hours or something like that. It was crazy.
Why was he so dedicated to you?
Because we were badasses. We were buddies. We protected each other in there. We were two 20-year-old kids, burly, working out, and both of us could fight. So we were just running through the fucking place like shit through a duck, man. That's why we were a crew. We felt like Jesse James, man.
Oh, the New York Times, January 9th, 1984. 2 gunmen who killed a police officer and wounded 2 others today were found dead after a shootout with the police at an apartment here, authorities said. The bodies of the gunmen were found by a remote-controlled police robot just after 6 p.m. after an exchange of gunfire and tear gas. The gunmen were identified as Jerry Mitchell, 22 years old, of New York City, and Frank Folnsby, Folnsbee. Is that familiar?
Yeah,
Folnsby.
Yeah. That's him now, yeah.
Also 22 of Elmira.
Right.
Why did he fucking go crazy like that?
That was Jerry. That's how he was. It was 1,000% rebel, and he went all the way out.
But why the suicide when he could have just gone back to prison for the rest of his life and done time with you, and you guys could have been bros on the inside?
That's really a ridiculous
Could have had
question.
another plan.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous question.
I don't know why the suicide. He's
Well,
only 22.
if you had been inside yourself, P, if you did time, you would understand that that's not an option.
You were gonna get out and be a bank robber?
Yeah, I was gonna get out and be a gangster. Yeah, I was gonna go till they blew me away.
Just like that?
Think about what they did to me. I wanted to get even. So you see, that started who I am today.
How?
It taught me that I can rule. I can be in charge.
But that was not being in charge at all. That was...
They were coming back to get me. Not the whole failure. They failed. But before the failure, I was the shot caller. That was my first experience running a crew because I had Jerry, and he would do what I asked him to do. I didn't ask him to do that. He said, "Don't move, I'm coming to get you. Don't change your cell." That was his idea. I think if it was my idea, it would have been better thought out.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that was going to work. What was he thinking? Who knows?
I did a little bit of research. There's a bunch of bullshit surrounding these reports.
There always is. Come on, the cops have to be the heroes, right?
It's not even clear that they shot any of these cops.
No, but I mean, it's never going to be, right? We'll never know. I mean, I don't put it past Jerry to do that. I mean, he hated authority. He certainly hated cops.
Here's a really nice article, and I wonder if you ever met this guy because he's a counselor at Elmira, or he was. He writes, I didn't see that side of Jerry Mitchell, of course, during our acquaintance at the Elmira Correctional Facility. After several one-on-one sessions with Jerry Mitchell, I dared to believe that there was a measure of sincerity in this husky, good-looking young man with a nice smile, that he genuinely did want to help with his problem seemed clearer when the quiet 22-year-old spoke up in a group session one day, firmly suggesting to some others that their disruptive attitude kept him from attaining the benefits he sought from the self-help group. You know, he completed his assignments with insight and intelligence that made me dare to believe that this was a young man with some motivation to help himself. He was paroled, and now he's dead. Described it as a hardened criminal bent on organizing a ring of terror and destruction. Perhaps he was planning this when our lives touched. I want to believe that I saw the good in Jerry Mitchell, a troubled young man, honestly reaching out for a chance to help himself, at least at that time. There's a picture of him. So, do you remember that guy? You were probably in that group.
I wasn't in that group.
Tom Page? Why would he be in it and not you?
It's a self-help group.
Didn't you have to do programming like that?
I was a worker back then. I mean, you had to do it if you were getting ready to go home, but I had a life sentence. I had a double life sentence. They weren't programming me in those programs. You get those when you're ready to go home.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be in those programs for 40 years.
Okay, I have to say this about Folsby.
The guy was a dweeb, man.
You say that, but...
But what? The guy was a douchebag.
What does that mean? Give me an example. Like, he just wasn't cool or tough, or he didn't protect himself?
He had no balls. Yeah, he was...
So you don't like people who are not as tough as you? Who weren't
That's a
parents, so
very
they could
good
take a
question.
punch?
I'm very glad you asked that question, and here's the answer. I like people who play their position. So, if you can walk the walk and talk the talk, do that. But if you're going to talk the talk and can't walk the walk, you're phony. You're a douchebag. And that's what he was. He was trying to hang in a situation in a group where he didn't belong, and it got him killed. He should not have been hanging around with Jerry to begin with.
But this is what someone from Elmira wrote. He was a fair-haired type, handsome, who was the target of sexual overtures by other convicts at Elmira. Jerry Mitchell, also 22 of New York City, was seen as a strong-arm guy who was his protector, his godfather, if you will. Reports show no sexual relationship between the two of them, nor was either said to be homosexual, but because of his appearance, Folsby was seen as a sexual target who relied on his tough friend to keep the other cons away. That's why he was such a willing accomplice. He was in awe of that guy. That's realistic because everybody knows what goes on in there. The source from Elmira said. So why wouldn't he be hanging out with Jerry?
That's total
Everyone
bullshit.
used Jerry for his might. It sounds like you did too.
I used Jerry for his muscle, yeah,
And so did this guy.
But Jerry used me for my brain, so we had brain and brawn, right?
And this guy used him because he felt safe with him.
This guy didn't use Jerry.
You wouldn't say that?
No, because that's all bullshit. We lived in a cell block that had 60 cells. It was the Foundry. This guy happened to live in the same block because he worked in the same place, right? There were only maybe 6 white guys out of 60. Back then, with the racial tensions and the things they were, you hung with your own kind. So he would have been hanging out in that crew to begin with, right? Which would have been fine. If he wanted to hang out at work, if he wanted to say hi in the yard and just stop by and, you know what I mean, would have been fine. And he would have been protected if Jerry chose to protect him. But he wanted to swim in the water. He wanted to be one of the boys. And it got him killed.
You were saying he was like, yeah, let's do this shit. Let's go
Yes,
do that.
he was rah-rah. And it got him killed. And I guarantee you Jerry killed him. There's no doubt in my mind that Jerry shot him in the head and then shot himself. Because he folded on Jerry. When shit went down and they were in that room, those cops were coming to kill him, or they was kill or be killed, he folded. And Jerry killed him. You have to understand that these were not normal times and they were not normal people. If you're sitting out there listening to our podcast and you're trying to tie normalcy to this, you're going to miss the nuance of what it really was like. What it really meant. In Jerry's mind, think about this. In Jerry's mind, he was Jesse James. Jesse James, and he was coming to get the shot caller. He was coming to get the boss. But that is the cornerstone who I became throughout the years and all those years later, because that gave me that first understanding of what it means to be in charge.
Yeah, and it gave you an understanding of what people would be willing to do for you and at what length they would go to protect you.
Right, to protect an ideal of who I was. Because they didn't know me, nobody knew me. There's one person on this planet that knows me. P, you. I know me, you know me. That's it. You've studied my history, you've studied everything about me extensively. You know everything about me. I haven't held anything back from you ever. None of those people in my life, none of those people know me. But they know the person that I built, right? The suit, right? We talk about the suit. And Jerry is the first guy that gave me or showed me that I could be in control of people way stronger than me.
Yeah, that must have felt different.
Yeah, it made me feel.
When that happened. Yeah.
It made me feel like I had a weapon, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but did you feel bad that happened? All those people were shot.
Didn't feel any of that. I'm 24 years old, doing 50 years to life. I got 4 years in, looking at a shitload time to do, right? I have to survive. One of the main things that taught me I had to survive was I seen a murder in Elmira. That fucked with me. You know, when I seen that, I said, wow, that could have been me. I seen this kid murdered right there in front of me. And everybody knew it was going to happen. Everybody was told it was going to happen. And it doesn't sink in. You know, we're going to get this guy when we go through the gate. That's the word that passes, right? So you know somebody's going to get it. Is it you? Who's going to get it? Turns out it was this kid from New York City who raped a bunch of nuns. And they stabbed him over 600 times. But they did it right in front of me. I was as close to him when he got stabbed as you and I are sitting right now, probably 2 feet apart when he got stabbed. And it sounded like paper ripping every time they stabbed him. With a knife going in and out of him, it sounded like paper ripping. And my whole life, I've had that in my head. I said, well, you know, he raped a bunch of nuns, you know, he deserved that shit, you know. I mean, that's how you justify that, right? I mean, you can't really justify that, and no one really deserves that. You have to live with it, so you have to figure it out. That is the stuff, man, that makes you decide. This could be you. If people find out what the fuck you're in here for, that's you. And that's all I was thinking. So I decided that I was going to put the crew together because Jerry had taught me that I could control people way stronger than me and protect myself with it. Then it turns out I get this reputation for the guy that has all the integrity and all the smarts. You can trust him. If he tells you it's so, you can trust him. And that's the reputation that I got. And when that reputation started to fly through the system, I got even more power. So by the time I was 32, 33, I had been elected shot caller. I was running the white crews.
Are you saying that this is your primary reason for traveling up the ranks? And
the self-protection is a bonus because anyone who sets out to climb up the ranks is not going to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. If you decide, you know what, I'm going to one day be a shot caller, well, you already have the wrong attitude and your ego's too fucking big. If you have that mindset, that's who you are, right? A leopard can't change his fucking spots. You're going to fuck shit up. You're going to steal or you're going to lie. There can't be any question at all about your integrity. And I always had the mindset where, let's say I walk into a bathroom someplace and there's a watch on the sink. When I walk out of the bathroom, the watch is still on the sink. Most people walk into a bathroom in prison and there's a watch on the sink and it goes right in their pocket because that's money, right? My integrity was always that I can't allow people to question my honesty or my integrity. That's not to say that I had integrity or honesty, but I had the game because I have a bigger picture. The bigger picture is that no one can ever find out who I really am.
Who are you really? Are you a criminal?
I have a criminal mindset, because of all the time I did, right? But I'm not a criminal. I'm not a thug.
Are you someone who would steal someone's watch?
No.
Glad we cleared that up.
Why?
I don't know.
Get better as I go. I'm trained up. Ready?
Can we change it up for a bit? We're gonna do this thing at the end of each episode, if you're willing.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do a status update, okay? Where you're gonna fill us in on what's happening with you. So, your reintegration into society again after release.
Okay. I feel like the stuff that I'm going through is the same stuff that a lot of other guys are going through, and if we can bring some light to this, let's do it. I mean, if it shames me, it shames me, right?
I want to take you a little bit back. So I recorded you when you were 2 weeks out.
All right.
Do you remember that?
I do not.
First time you came to my place.
I do remember that. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're sitting at the table. I
Yeah.
remember. You don't have it now, right?
I do.
Let me hear it, so that'll give me a place to start.
Okay, ready? Let's hear where you are at 2 weeks.
All of the noise and all of the people and the cars driving by. I mean, the last 41 years, just about, I've been in a closed environment that consists of maybe 5 acres total. And that's the area. You know, you learn that 5 acres very quickly. Everything is the same every day. So that's been my life for over 40 years. And then without any preparation, they just dropped me right into one of the busiest metropolises on the planet and said, be free. This is your new 5 acres. Learn to live in it. It's totally foreign to me. And I have no idea how to use the trains, how to use the buses. It's system overload. I'm stuck. Sometimes I want to just go in the room and just crawl under the bed and just stay there. You know, I don't want to come out. No one should have to go through this. I mean, there needs to be something in place to reintegrate a person back into society, especially a person who does decades in prison. I was out a week before I went into any store by myself to buy anything because I was afraid to go in there. I walked back and forth across in front of the store, like by the door, like, go ahead, I dare you, go in, I dare you. And most of the time I just turn around and go back to the hotel. And I was so lost and so afraid of being lost that I would pick a street and walk straight. I would not turn left, I would not turn right. If the street came up to a intersection where I had to pick a choice, I just turn around and walk back. But I knew that if I just walked in a straight row, all I had to do was turn around and walk straight back and I would get back to where I started. That's how lost and how inundated and afraid I was. So when I finally did get the courage to walk in and get a coffee, I didn't know how to use this debit card that the prison gave me when I got out. Whatever money I had, instead of giving me cash, they gave me this debit card. So I grabbed a bottle of water or something, I remember, and I put it on the counter and the guy goes, $1, you know, and I'm like, okay. And I got this card and I go, can you show me how to use this card? And it was so demeaning and so embarrassing that someone of my age doesn't know how to use a debit card in this day and age. And that's just another failure of the system. They never taught me to use something as simple as a debit card. They never taught me to use something as simple as a cell phone. When I went to prison, phones had dials. And now I'm dropped into this society where I'm Barney Rubble, man. You know, it's just, that's it, I'm Barney Rubble. It's tearing me up that it makes me feel so stupid, you know, and useless. I have to ask for everything. I can't do anything on my own. I'm lost. It was easy inside. I mean, inside I understood it. You know, I knew what I had to do every day. And I was the guy that, you know, the guy who had all the time and the guy who everybody came to for problems. And I was the fixer. And I couldn't even fix getting to Guitar Center. I walked 45 minutes in the wrong direction. And then when you get used to it, you know, you came in from all this noise, the trains overhead and all this noise and it's clackety, clackety, clackety and the cars and the beep, beep and the honking and all the noise and just all the busy. the drama going on around you all the time. I'm hyper aware anyway from being in prison because prison is very dangerous. I'm hyper aware anyway. I can't just not always be looking around me anyway. But I don't know where to look. My senses are so just burned out. By the end of the day, I'm just burned out. Physically, mentally, spiritually exhausted. But then when I get into the room and it's quiet, now I'm super paranoid because now it's too quiet. Because now there's no one for me to talk to. There's nothing going on. That's it. I'm stuck with just me. I haven't been alone since October of 1980. Even when you're living in the max jails, and like you say, when you're in your cell and you close your door, there's only a 1/4-inch steel on each side from the next cell. So there's always guys talking. There's always people you can talk to, your neighbors. So even though you can't come out and go in, you're never alone. You're never ever alone. And now I'm alone most of the time. It's a different aspect of life, right? Now it's paranoid time. Now it's all of those things that you were afraid of all day. Now it's time for those things to really haunt you. All of these things that scared you all day are there now in that quiet room with you. And you know when you get up in the morning, those things are outside waiting for you. From the chair I sit in to the front door where I go out of my room is about 20 feet. And by the time I leave that chair and get to that door, I'm shaking. I'm physically afraid to go out that door. And I make myself go out that door every morning. I make myself go out that door. But I'm not prepared for it. There's no help. There should be a program to integrate guys like me who did decades in prison back into society. Not just drop us in the middle and say, okay, let's see how long it takes them to violate.
Is the world what you expected? The outside world what you expected?
No. No, I expected it to be much more functional. You can't accomplish anything in a day. You know, when I went to prison, when I was sent off to prison, if I wanted a job, I just walked in someplace and say, hey, these are my skills, this is what I can do, are you hiring anybody? And before the end of the day, I'd have a job. I walk into places, now there's signs on the window, urgently hiring, mechanic needed, or urgently hiring, mechanic's assistant, or I walk inside and say, I've got 40 years experience doing that job. Oh, well, thanks for coming in, but you have to apply online. Well, the sign says urgently hiring, I'll start right now, today, right now. Oh no, you'll have to go online. And then you go online, I go online, and maybe it's me. I go online and I try to apply, and inevitably, I don't know if I applied or not. You know, I go through the steps and I'm like, okay, did I apply? I never hear anything back, so I have to assume that I didn't apply, you know, so I don't know. And so it's so dysfunctional. It's not what I expected. I expected the world to be way more advanced. I went into the DMV. I brought my birth certificate, which they say is not a birth certificate. I brought my DD-214. I brought my picture ID card. I brought my social security card. And they say, well, there's no proof of who you are. Who are you? You can't have a learner's permit. Who are you? There's no proof. I spent 40 years in prison. I'm nobody. That's my point. I'm nobody. I need somebody to say, okay, this is nobody, but let's start the process to making him somebody. And I can't get anything accomplished. I can't order a pair of socks online because I don't have a credit card. And I can't have a credit card because I can't have a bank account. I can't have a bank account because I don't have an ID card. I can't have an ID card because I don't have a birth certificate. I can't have a birth certificate because birth certificate is $55 and I don't have a job. So, is it dysfunctional? Absolutely. It's not advanced at all. Wow, you know, there needs to be something done about that. I should not have had to do that. I shouldn't have had to go through that.
There's also so much truth to what you said about applying for a job when they put help wanted in the windows, but you can't just walk in and say, hey, I want to apply.
Yeah, you can't. I'm like, well, why the fuck do you have a help wanted sign in the window if I can't apply for the job? You were worried about me because I was so manic about finding a job. I don't know what your concerns were. You didn't share them with me, but I know that you were concerned about me because you gave me an ultimatum. Do you remember giving me the ultimatum?
Yes.
Do you remember?
I did.
Do you remember what you said and why?
Well, no. Okay, yeah. So you're like, I'm gonna, you didn't want to use the program that helps you find a job.
How come?
Because then you have to take their courses and do all that bullshit programming that, we've now learned, like in your management class, is complete bullshit.
Right.
So you knew that, and you didn't want to take the time to do that because it takes 3 fucking weeks. So you would have had to sit for 3 more weeks. But I said, okay, if you don't have a job by week 5, take the fucking program, please. Because I wanted to put that manic energy somewhere so that you wouldn't blow a fuse.
I'm glad that you just used the sentence that you did. This is something that relates to prison, and it's very important to me. What's the word that you can use to get me to do anything that I've asked you not to overuse?
Please.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you said 5 weeks, please, because I love and respect you so much because you're my best friend, when you ask me something and say, please, I know that it means something. It means something to you, right? So that gave me the incentive because I had to say yes. I couldn't say no. That made me turn it up. So instead of walking 8 or 10 miles a day, I was walking 14 and 16 looking for a job.
Yeah, right.
Because I only had, because I had,
didn't want to take that.
I did not. But I promised. If I said, you said please and I said yes, to me that's a promise, and I can't break it.
It was heartbreaking when you got a couple of jobs and then you came back right away with, they Googled me.
So I got a really good job in Coney Island as a lead mechanic at this car rental dealership. The pay was good, and they really needed a mechanic very badly. It was right after the floods in New York City, and all their cars were flooded. I got the phone call, you're hired. Show up Monday. We'll have a contract for you. Great. I called you. I was super happy. I got a job. Ha ha. I don't have to take your rat program, blah, blah, blah. The next day, I got the phone call saying, listen, your actual position is not exactly the same as that you wrote on your job application. And I said, what are you talking about? There's nothing on my job application that isn't true. He goes, well, no, but just between you and I, the corporate Googled you and you're on parole for a murder, for a vicious crime, and they don't want you in the business, so I can't hire you. So I was hired and fired within 24 hours. I never...
And then that one in Brooklyn.
The pump people, right? So
yeah, they gave you a test. You came in and were with them for a day or for a morning, and they loved you so much.
Yeah, the guy actually called me back. Same thing, it was corporate, same thing, Googled me. They went to Google me, that's it, I'm finished, I'm Attila the Hun if you Google me. But the guy actually called me back 2 times after that and said, man, I'm trying so hard to find a position for you. I really want to hire you. I mean, that kind of vindicated me a little bit, made me feel a little better, But I would apply for 50 jobs. All 50 jobs I would apply for, they were all like, oh yeah, we need this guy because my resume is monster. But as soon as they Googled me, I was finished. That's it, done.
All right. Signing off until next time. What should our sign off be? Please do the sign off, please.
There you go. You see, I told you to stop overusing that. You got to stop overusing that. But if you have any questions, if there's any issues, go to our link, share them. Let us know what you're thinking.
He says go to our link, but I don't even think he knows what that means. Do you know? What do you mean go? We don't have a link? What's
we
a
will
link?
have, won't we?
Where?
I don't know. We're gonna wherever we're at. There's got to have a link for people to contact us, right?
Okay, so I'll figure out a link. I think, yeah, okay.
Lady producer's
You
gonna hook
come
you
to
up.
our Facebook page and leave a message. But tune in next week. What are we going to talk about next week?
We're going to talk about next time, I think, the decisions that people on the inside are forced to make. You have to make decisions inside that You wouldn't think you'd ever have to make outside.
And then boss is going to tell us about grudge fucking on the inside.
Oh, I didn't think she was going to bring that up, but okay, yeah, grudge fucking. I love grudge fucking. I mean, and it is just what it sounds
love grudge
like. Yeah, and it sounds just what it's
No,
violent, mean.
Don't talk about it yet.
Sex.
Oh, no. No, ready. You gotta be in the right mood for grudge fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sayonara, suckers.
You can't say that.
Okay.
You can't call them suckers. You know, you can say, I mean, you don't want to be too official with it, right?
Don't get into trouble.
Oh, don't say don't get in.
do
Do it what you
anytime.
want to do. If you want to get in trouble, get in trouble. Don't
If
listen
you
to
can't
it.
do the time, don't do the crime. Is that how it goes?
That's Columbo. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
There.
Don't do
the
it.
crime if you can't do the time.
Right, and
And if
rest
you do the
assured,
time,
you cannot do the time. So don't do the crime.
Purpose and direction evade me. And the people in charge have made me less. It's less of me to love and less of me to hate. See, the more I see, the less I can feel. And the less I can feel, the less I care about it. Teach you to be a number, be a robot, don't feel, don't care. You're not real. You're not here for that. But I think it's just all to me, it's just...
You know, there's a saying in there. We say, you either do the time or the time does you. And you can see the guys that the time did. They're always hanging around the COs. If a CO says something cross to them, they shake and they break down. They're just beat. They're finished. The time did them. And then you see the guys who are doing the time. And those are the guys that'll say, the CO will say something to them and they'll say, what'd you say? You know, what was that? They give the CO a chance to fix that. Because this is going to get bad. What did you say? You know, and the CO might say, I said, get your fucking ass in the house. Now, to the guy that's shaking, he say, oh, okay, CO, and off he goes. You say, get your fucking ass in the house to a shot caller, what do you think he's going to say? He's going to say, I'm not done fucking your mama yet. Give me 10 minutes. Right.
Sorry. That's funny.
I got an
80s
upgrade.
called and they want their jokes back.
Yeah, I got an upgrade.
Boss.
Yeah. But that's what it is. See, that's where we're stuck, right? Well, at least you didn't call me 70s this time.